Okay, so after quite a while of criticism regarding all of the trailers and promotional imagery we've gotten for this movie, I think it's time I be honest about Dragon Ball Super Superhero the movie after watching it in theaters. Let's talk about it. I must go, must leave this house. I must go, the time is now. I must go, it's time to get out. Yes, people, the fated day has arrived. Dragon Ball Super Superhero. Now, I went to the theaters to see this movie, and I saw it in English dub. And y'all already know, in case you haven't, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell so you'll know in the future that I've talked extensively about this movie leading up to it, between some of the promotional imagery that was coming out, trailers, little leaks and whatnot. And I was, especially at first, pretty harsh about it. I think it's safe to say that for the most part it was very jarring for most people when we started seeing trailers and stuff like that, and we saw, oh, they're going in a 3D CGI direction. It kind of was just like, this isn't the Dragon Ball that I grew up with, because, you know, I'm one of those people that I was about, 5 years old or so when I first discovered Dragon Ball, thanks to my cousin Ronald. It was just something like a magical experience, you know what I'm saying? So I'm a lifetime Dragon Ball fan, so I'm gonna be a little bit more critical about it because I really love it. It's a part of my life. You know, I grew up watching Dragon Ball, and when it returned with the movies, going back to Battle of Gods and then the TV anime and whatnot, it's just something very near and dear to my heart. So I was very critical about this movie, but I gotta say, after watching this film, I am so shocked and surprised about how I felt about it, because again, going into it, I ended up putting my expectations down at the bottom of the totem pole. I was like, if I could at least get some type of enjoyment out this film, I'll be satisfied. But in terms of where I'll rank this movie in comparison to the other 3 films that's come out since Dragon Ball's revival, not including all the Z movies and Dragon Ball movies, there's definitely a sweet spot that we'll get to in a bit in the video of where I will put it. But wow, oh wow, one of the things that I'm gonna note for starters of how I feel that they actually got me into enjoying and being okay with the 3D CGI is as follows. Because in case you don't know the plot of Dragon Ball Super Superhero the movie, essentially, basically, it's Dr. Gero's grandson and Commander Red's son, if I'm not mistaken, and they basically collab together and they build some androids, and that's how it ultimately leads to the massive threat, which, spoiler alert, of Cell Max. Dr. Gero's grandson, Dr. Hedo, he's pretty much like a super genius, even grandioser than his own grandfather, and he basically teams up because Commander Red kind of bamboozles him, not really, because he kind of knew in a way like, yo, this dude is shady as hell, into believing that, you know, Goku and crew are like the evil ones. They're the bad guys. We're the good guys. They're bad. So it's kind of like a question of, I guess you would say, morality. And the trick of how they get you to kind of almost, they massage your eyeballs, so to speak, is the fact that one of the things that we was, you know, upset about is, oh my god, the characters that we love are in 3D CG. So they don't start off with the characters that you love. They start off for the first, I want to say 5 to 10 minutes or so of the film with these new characters that we don't love, we don't know, we've only just seen in the trailers and whatnot. Again, Dr. Hedo, I forget the, you know, son of Commander Red, his bodyguard and whatnot. They show you these brand new characters in this different style, so it's almost like, again, massaging your eyes. So by the time we do start seeing the characters that we love, we're already used to this style. They introduce you slowly but surely to this new style with, again, showing these characters that you don't really know or care about, and it's not as jarring once you lead up to the characters that you know and care about. So that was something that I felt was the trick of how they did it, of got me into like, okay, it's not that jarring. I'm alright with it, because off rip, I'm gonna tell you right now that the 3D CG blend with 2D, because it was blended with 2D. There was a lot of 2D shots too. Oh my god, I was fangasming over the redone Dragon Ball shots and even the Z shots with updated art and animation. Please, for the love of God, one day somebody, Toei, invest in redoing Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z with new art and animation. I would freaking go crazy. I'd watch every episode. I promise. I'd really support it. I gotta say that, honestly, for the most part, I was wrong. I was Wrong. Can't believe I'm saying this, but one more time. I was wrong. It actually wasn't as bad as I had feared. It actually was pulled off pretty nicely for the most part. The 3D, 2D blend worked well. I don't know what the hell they did. I'm going to attribute it to that the people behind marketing just sucked at showcasing what this movie really looks like, because throughout the movie, there was only like one particular part that I'll talk about here in a second that couldn't really get into, that I was kind of like, it looks a little too blocky or whatever. But for the most part, I was fine with Gohan's design. I was fine with Piccolo in this style. Pan, considering she's like not a newer character, but technically we haven't seen Pan at this age per se. It didn't really matter. Beerus looked great. Like, for the most part, almost everybody in this film and this new art style and this, 3D CG 2D blend was fine. Do I prefer it over 2D? Still, no. But it was actually good for what it was. The only part of this movie, which I will say just straight up and down, this part of this movie felt like it was strictly for fan service, and you could argue, hey, it's to demonstrate what they're doing, but Goku and Vegeta, those two characters, for whatever reason, for me personally, were the only ones that in this 3D 2D blend, I feel like they didn't serve them justice. Like, they actually still felt like, I'm watching, I don't know, Dragon Ball FighterZ, the video game or something like that. Those two characters in particular, and I don't know if it's just because those are the mascot characters and I couldn't get around the new, 2D, 3D blend or whatever, but those two in particular were the ones that stood out like a sore thumb to me, because even, throughout their battle, like, their battle felt a little bit wonky. Like, the fights in this movie were surprisingly really freaking good. Gohan versus, Cell Max and the Gammas, Gamma 1 and 2 and stuff like that. Those fights looked great. The Goku and Vegeta battle on Beerus's planet, I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't really the biggest fan. In fact, one of the other earlier fights in the movie that I wasn't a fan of as well was when Piccolo fought against, I forget if it was Gamma 1 or 2, when Piccolo fought against the Gamma and they was doing like those JoJo sound effects, throwing up the sound effects on the screen and whatnot. I wasn't really all that fond of that either, but especially the Goku and Vegeta battle, I was just like, they look so blocky for me. Their character designs, the combat just didn't really hit like I would have hoped for. I would have been fine if they would have just shot to 2D, even if it was just for that, because hello, who the hell doesn't want to see Goku and Vegeta throw down? So that was really the only aspect of the movie which I felt was honestly inserted and extended and led nothing really, it didn't lend itself to the plot per se, other than, hey, Goku and Vegeta are doing something on, Beerus's planet. Like, that's all we really needed. It didn't contribute much to see Goku and Vegeta fighting. That was fan service, because it really didn't lend to the message of the movie or what was going on with Cell or anything like that. That was something that it was probably added because, hello, we still, regardless if we're not going to focus marketing on it and focus on them being the MCs, we still need Goku and Vegeta. This is Dragon Ball. It sells. We need to put it in commercials and stuff like that. So I'm imagining that's why they did it. Don't get me wrong. The humor and the comedy of that scene, absolutely loved it. Beerus having a crush on what's really Broly's gal and seeing Broly there as well. All of that stuff was fantastic. I loved it. It was really only Goku and Vegeta's character models and their combat that kind of felt blocky. But that scene in general, I'll take it. Because honestly, this movie, Dragon Ball Super superhero film, it's almost like when they rebooted Dragon Ball movies back in 2013, 12, 13, when we got the Battle of Gods film. It felt like a Toriyama movie. And what I mean by that is, if you don't know about Akira Toriyama, he started off as a comedy writer. Dr. Slump was a massive, huge hit in Japan before he went on to Dragon Ball, and it was a comedy series about a little robot girl, poopy jokes, all sorts of wacky and insane fun stuff. And that's where I felt like this film kind of landed. It was like if, and I know that this was Toriyama's son that had a lot of involvement apparently with this film, but it felt like Toriyama wrote this movie. The jokes and all of the humor that you got in it was very Toriyama-esque, and I enjoyed and appreciated that about this. If you want to watch this film for any reason, if not anything else, it has some really dope and funny jokes in it, and the stuff on Beerus's planet with, again, Beerus's crush on, is it Cheetle? I forgot how to Cheetile, I forgot how to pronounce her name, but that shit was awesome. Loved it, and it gave a little bit of development for Beerus. Hey, you got a new quest, so to speak. Then going on to the wish on the Dragon Balls when they summon the dragon because Piccolo thinks back, which again I love the reanimated scenes, the recuts of some of the stuff from Planet Namek of how Guru was able to unlock Krillin's hidden potential, and he went to Dende, and Dende's like, I can't do that, but I'll remodel the Dragon Balls, and he basically uses one wish on the Dragon Balls alongside with Bulma there, which we'll talk about in a second, like what the hell, to unlock his potential, and that's essentially how he gets the orange Piccolo transformation, and that is indeed the name of it, similar to how they do, like, you know, golden Frieza. We have orange Piccolo, which, wow, I didn't really care for the name per se. Like, if anything, it would have been more awesome, because I saw at one given point when he went into the transformation at first, they had like the tree of knowledge on his back and shit like that. Why not knowledgeable Piccolo or tree of life? I don't know, just like orange Piccolo is so silly of a name, and I get it, Dragon Ball has just been almost being a little bit self-aware that it is getting into ridiculous realms of gods and, you know, all of this crazy stuff, so maybe that's why they're just embracing at this point the meme, so to speak. But they could have come up with a better name, because I love the look of it. Piccolo being more buff, more refined, obviously more stronger. I'm curious where his power scaling is at, because I have no doubt in my mind that regardless of how epic the action was and how strong they looked, that if Goku and Vegeta would have show up opposed to leaving it to like Piccolo and Gohan and them, they would have actually stole the show and would have been able to easily take out Cell Max and the Gammas and whatnot. Like that, maybe that's just me, but I feel like they gave them this moment because realistically Goku and Vegeta would have come down and finished this ASAP. But going back to the Dragon Balls, dog, while it lent itself for incredible humor, it felt like such contemporary humor where Bulma uses the Dragon Balls for two wishes that are like, one of them may be okay, whatever, it's still absolutely ridiculous. I want to stress they're terrible wishes, but getting a BBL, basically wishing for a bigger booty. Dog, if that wasn't for contemporary humor, I don't know what is. That was Toriyama's son. I'm calling it. That one was Toriyama didn't know about that one. He was like, BBL, nani? It was hilarious. Let me get this straight. That it was funny as hell, but definitely contemporary, and what a waste of a wish. I mean, granted, the Dragon Balls started off with one of the most ridiculous wishes in the world for freaking panties via oolong, but BBL, and then the third wish, shall I say, it was Piccolo's transformation, Bulma's butt, and then her eyelashes. And granted, that is once again contemporaryism of like, yo dog, I have kiddos that be with the eyelashes and all that stuff, so I get it. And maybe that was for them, maybe that was for the female audience, that because in 2022 that is just the thing. But well, for starters, all natural is the best, and I highly encourage you to stay all natural. But if you're not, don't forget listen to Bulma. Like, legit, dog, in 2022, I could say one wish on the Dragon Balls was for a BBL. What is life? Like, what are we right now? Then, one of the things that made me really connect with this film, one of the things that made me feel it was more personable, right, is because I am a lifetime Dragon Ball fan. Like I said, I was about 5 years old. My cousin Ronald, back in the days, Kids WB, Sunday morning, yo, look at this shit. And it got me into it as a child. So coming full circle now that I'm a father, and my daughter is about the same age that I got into Dragon Ball, seeing the way they played it, of how, you know, it was almost nostalgia meets a new day, right? Because it's about Pan being quote-unquote kidnapped. Piccolo helps with the kidnap to help unlock Gohan's potential. It felt like it was personable to me. I felt like I could relate so well, you know, Gohan's daughter's just starting school, my daughter's just starting school, you know, all of these things, all of these aspects, Gohan being extremely busy, constantly working, I'm extremely busy, constantly working. It felt like I could connect so deeply to this because of those aspects in my real life that, you know, it comes full circle. You know, you watched Gohan grow up when you were a kid, and now seeing his kid growing and his kid taking flight, quote unquote, metaphorically and literally. It just felt like it really hit home. It hit very close to home for people that were lifetime Dragon Ball fans. As a kid, all jokes aside, when I was like 10 and 11, I wanted to be Gohan. I looked at Gohan like that was the coolest shit ever when he took out Cell. So it really hit to have all of those moments with Pan. And then of course when Gohan goes to rescue Pan because of, you know, Piccolo and that one guard from the Red Ribbon Army and whatnot, it just felt like what a father is supposed to do. Gohan's instincts quickly snapped in of, yo, take me to my daughter right now before I hurt you, dog. I'm not playing. And getting that fight with Gohan and the Gammas in the rain, or well, it was the one Gamma, and then when the other one tried to jump in, Piccolo was like, yo, dog, I'm orange. You could tell that it was playing off of a lot of nostalgic moments from the Dragon Ball franchise. Now, for my kiddos, which is an interesting experience, right? Because my kiddos, they didn't see all of Dragon Ball, all of Z, GT, the movies, all of that stuff. I did. So while I'm, you know, interestingly watching their experience, and they're just like, you know, bewildered at, wow, this is so great. Because, you know, I'll throw it out right here. When it comes to my kiddos, they loved it. My nephew, he said that was like the best film that he saw all year. He absolutely loved it. My niece said, oh my God, why did it have to end? It was so good. So my kids absolutely loved every minute of it. But then I'm looking at it from an extra layer of, yo, they're recreating when future Gohan fought the androids in the rain, but as a different set of androids as these new Gammas created by Akira Toriyama. Shout outs to him for the designs because they were pretty cool and this whole superhero motif and whatnot. It was just like, I don't know, I felt like I was in a different type of vibe. Like, yeah, my kiddos are enjoying it, but I'm looking at it like, yo, this is my childhood meets my adulthood wrapped in one. Shout outs to the dubstep OST. That was something that I did take note of, and I really appreciated the different, and you know, they tried different things, I guess, for the Dragon Ball franchise in particular with the musical composition. And when it went dubstep and shit like that, I was like, let's freaking go kick his ass. And there was maybe a few moments that if you really were, you know, thinking at that point of a whole 3D CG, because by that point when you get to the battles of Gohan and the Gammas and whatnot, first of all, they were cleaned up, the fights just looked so great, but also you're not thinking at that point of, oh snap, 3D 2D. At that point your mind is already accepting and embracing the 3D CG. So I'm not really looking at it as, oh, that shot looks this and that. I'm just full-blown enjoying it at that point and really in the moment. And like I said earlier, Piccolo's new form, just absolutely epic. I love that it took it back to the Brawlic look. You know, I've been a person to complain at times of like, yo, dog, Dragon Ball really just abandoned muscular forms. Everything is now slimmed down and stuff like that. So to see Piccolo bring it back, I was like, yeah, boy. Cool scenes again with Jiro's grandson and General Red, or Commander Red's son, you know, having that little face off there where at the end of the day, dog, his skin is bulletproof and shit, and Commander Red's, you know, son was just like, I don't know, a buffoon to forget that. Hey, he told you that when y'all first met, that bullets ain't gonna penetrate, dog. What you thought you was doing? And that felt like Toriyama himself wrote that whole scene where he starts flexing and he takes off his suit and you see that he has like a suit of armor looking like Jax from Mortal Kombat and shit. That felt like Toriyama straight up wrote that. It definitely was his art style though, hands down. The short little chibi eye stuff, that's Toriyama. Then when we get 18, Krillin, Goten, Trunks, and all of them showing up for starters, hey, they gave us a couple of things to tie some loose ends up. For starters, Goten and Trunks, how are they older now? And then they give the explanation at some given point in the movie of, hey, you know, Saiyans, they stay really small for a while and then they have a growth spurt, which, you know, the fans have always attacked throughout Dragon Ball Super, that why are Goten and Trunks still little? Why are they still little? But if you go back to Dragon Ball, Goku looked like a tiny little 8-year-old all the way until the last arc where he shows up and he's 18 now and he looks like kind of sort of a younger version of the Goku we know now. So that really, you know, I guess it was something that we forgot, honestly, that I forgot of. Why are they still like that? They should be a lot older looking, because Goku didn't really age like that. He got a little bit taller, you could argue, maybe a few arcs into Dragon Ball, but that is the whole thing of a Saiyan to begin with. That's why Bulma's getting BBLs and new eyelashes and stuff like that, because Vegeta doesn't age rapidly, and then they just have these growth spurts where, you know, Vegeta will look young, next thing you know, he got a full mustache. Goten and Trunks going into fusion and it being off, that was definitely done for the humor. humor, but also just to bring them into the fold. And I really hope at some given point in the Dragon Ball Super anime, when it inevitably returns, that we get those versions of Goten and Trunks. I loved it. I was so hyped for it. It gave me a little bit like, yeah, you know, hearing Trunks' adult voice finally, like the end of, which shout out to Laura Bailey, but Laura Bailey's, you know, kid Trunks, we finally got the full-blown Eric Vale Trunks voice. And when they went into the fusion, that was for comedic relief because, you know, the jokes, him slapping his ass and calling names and all that stuff, but it was still awesome. It really felt like, okay, we're coming full circle. This is the Z Warriors at their finest, so to speak. Cell Max. That is something that I'm like, dog, this is not Bio Broly. What are y'all doing? Honestly, they definitely explained that, hey, he's incomplete. Dr. Hedo warned over and over, do not awaken him. He's not ready. You can't control him and stuff like that. So in one aspect, it's like, okay, you know, this is why we got the second form. From a grandioser look at it, I'm imagining what happened was they said, yo, dog, people really love Cell. If this movie is a success, we could do a double back and then we could bring back Perfect Cell. That's what I'm imagining why we didn't get, you know, Cell Max being Perfect Cell with that brain and all that stuff. And I'm perfect because they probably were hoping for a sequel. Unless the West really makes some noise, unless you really go out and watch this film and support it through and through, spend your money and stuff like that, you're probably not going to see a sequel to this film because over there in Japan, it ain't doing the greatest at all. It's the lowest performing Dragon Ball film since the return of the franchise going back to 2013. So yeah, I don't know if we'll ever see Perfect Cell, but I really would have loved it. I mean, it would have to have been at least 45 minutes longer of a film to flesh out his character, because that's probably why they went with the Cell Max brainless monster, because most of the movie was about, you know, setting up the Gammas and the battles there and the confusion and stuff like that. They didn't really have time to flesh out Perfect Cell. What is it going to be? I'm perfect and I'm getting my ass whipped. Like, how would you play that? So they kind of had to, for I'm imagining time restraints, cut out a lot of things. Like, we get mentions of Mr. Satan, but we don't see him despite him being a pivotal factor of the warrior that defeated Cell in the Cell game. So it was definitely for time constraints why they had to give us, you know, mindless Cell at the 9th hour. In the final battle against Cell Max, for the most part, it was dope. Seeing Gohan's final transformation, again, it was damn near shot for shot, just recreating the magic that you saw as a child when he went Super Saiyan 2 for the first time. They did it shot for shot, you know, the black background with the red line going behind him. All of that stuff was, again, it was nostalgic, but also a new day because it's a different form. I don't know exactly what that form, I mean, it's called Final Gohan, but the logic behind it a little bit, because he saw what he thought was Piccolo's death right there, him, you know, unlocking hidden potential. I mean, didn't he already kind of have that with, you know, Mystic Gohan or Ultimate Gohan? So that was a little bit, I mean, it looked pretty much like freaking Ultra Instinct. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Granted, it had red eyes, so it wasn't completely like Ultra Instinct. So the form, the way he gets it, it was, again, a playback of Gohan always having the potential to be the strongest warrior on Earth and never using it. Him seeing, you know, the person that he loves, like a father figure, dying in front of him was what pushed him to use it. And then, of course, it was such a nice treat, the cherry on top for us fans of, you know, the Gohan and Piccolo dynamic, when he uses for the final blow the special beam cannon Makanko Sapo, opposed to using Kamehameha like he took out Cell the first time. I feel like that was, again, the message of the dude that raised him, the dude that really turned him into the man he is today. He's showing homage in his way by doing that. And even him saying, yeah, you know, I was training in secret, that kind of also made Piccolo feel a little relieved, like, you know, because everybody's looking at Gohan like this fucking worm, just train. And thankfully, he's still been keeping somewhat up with his training. That's probably why he was able to kind of hop into the, you know, Ultimate Gohan and then unlock eventually Final Gohan, because in secret, he's been getting a little swing in here or there. And I hope you didn't miss the end credits where Goku and Vegeta's fight is decided and Vegeta took the W. Again, more fan service of the fans always scream, Vegeta never takes. Well, Vegeta took the W. It was by one punch. One punch! But he beat Goku at the end of the film to give fans something more to chew on, and Broly crying there. Honestly, it just made me more want the TV anime back. And, you know, I hate to say this, but if it was in this exact quality or better, I think fans could actually accept 3D CG Dragon Ball. I'm here to tell you guys that I was wrong to persecute this film before seeing it based off trailers and whatnot, because once you're sitting in the theater, once you're in there 15 minutes, you kind of even forget about the 3D CG. Sure, there's a little reminder here or there where they need a tweak of like some of the battles, and again, Goku and Vegeta's models were just a little off for me, but nevertheless, I was wrong to kind of shit on this film when in actuality I had a great time. Is it a perfect movie? No. Where do I rank it in comparison to some of the other Dragon Ball films? Again, the Battle of Gods, the Broly, and the Frieza's Resurrection. I'll say it's better than Frieza's Resurrection, and I'll probably even tie it and maybe slightly put it above Battle of Gods. So basically, number one movie, Broly film, still the Broly film. Number two is a tie with Battle of Gods and Dragon Ball Superheroes, and then Frieza at the bottom. And depending on how much time passes, I might even put it above Battle of Gods, because this film, the message in it for me through and through is that there's a time in life where you got to see your kids fly, and seeing Gohan fly, you know, Piccolo's basically surrogate child, and then seeing Pan fly, Gohan's child. It's like, yeah, you got to let them go and you got to let them fly, and it's the time. The time is now, so to speak. And yeah, if I had to give it a rating out of 1 through 10, I'd probably give it about a solid 7, maybe even a 7.5. They did their thing. I would have liked more of an extensive battle against Cell Max towards the end, but I ain't gonna lie, I was pleasantly surprised. And I will tell you right now, as it is in theaters and just in general, when you get a chance, you should watch this movie. It's a good one, and I would recommend even further, watch it with your family. If you got kids, if you got relatives, it's a great movie to watch with your family. Fantastic anime film to be with people you love. But I'm curious what you guys think. If you've seen Dragon Ball Superhero the movie, how did you feel about it? What did you think about the battles? What did you think about the transformations, the comedy, the charm? Again, it felt like Toriyama's hand was really deep into this one, and I don't know how much involvement he had with this one, if anything at all, other than character designs, but it really felt like the lighthearted feel that you got from Battle of Gods mixed with the epicness and danger with, of course, you know, Cell Max and all that stuff. And yeah, your overall thoughts and expectations for the future of Dragon Ball films. Do you want another one in this style? I ain't gonna lie, I wouldn't necessarily be mad at another one in this style. I'm always gonna prefer 2D. I grew up with it, man. Maybe call it I'm set in my ways, but I'm not necessarily opposed to this style for Dragon Ball in particular. Let me be clear, like I was leading into this one. You never know what could happen, right? That's all I have for this one. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day, peace, and yeah, go watch Dragon Ball Superhero. You'll be pleasantly surprised, even if you were apprehensive because of the art style. Trust me, I was the most leading the charge against it, but it was actually a really enjoyable film. My kids loved it. I loved it. Yeah, long live Dragon Ball and Piccolo and Gohan's relationship. Yeah, have an awesome one.
I have a dream, alone in my room as I sit with the tea. Couldn't possibly think what I often see, and you don't even know how I often blink. Lights be flashing and looking at me, such an odd unique, yet I'm so unique and you're looking at me. If the walls could talk, they would probably repeat, and I'd probably say, bitch, get the fuck off me.